الصبح بدا من طلعته والليل دجى من وفرته فاق الرسل فضلا وعلا أهدى السبل لدلالته. الصبح بدا من طلعته والليل دجى من وفرته فاق الرسل فضلا وعلا أهدى السبل لدلالته. كنز الكرم مولى النعم هدي الأمم لشريعته أزكى النسب أعلى الحسب كل العرب في خدمته كل العرب في خدمته. الصبح بدا من طلعته والليل دجى من وفرته فاق الرسل فضلا وعلا أهدى السبل لدلالته. سعتي الشجر نطق الحجر شق القمر بإشارته جبريل أتى ليلة أسرى والرب دعا لحضرته والرب دعا لحضرته. الصبح بدا من طلعته والليل دجى من وفرته فاق الرسل فضلا وعلا أهدى السبل لدلالته. نال شرفا والله عفا عما سلف من أمته فمحمدنا هو سيدنا فالعز لنا لإجابته فالعز لنا لإجابته. الصبح بدا من طلعته والليل دجى من وفرته فاق الرسل فضلا وعلا أهدى السبل لدلالته. الصبح بدا من طلعته والليل دجى من وفرته فاق الرسل فضلا وعلا أهدى السبل لدلالته أهدى السبل لدلالته.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We continue our discussion on the sciences of the Quran. We were busy with the miraculous aspects of the Quran. Last week we had done some of the scientific miracles of the Quran. Today we are going to be doing some of the linguistic angles that the Quran is a miracle. I just want to remind you that in no way am I trying to be comprehensive, because each of these topics are massive topics that could be discussed for months and at great length. Ulama have written many books on these topics. Each one of the topics that I am speaking about, ulama have written on, and so I'm being a bit selective. I'm just taking here and there with the aim of giving a bit of an overview of how things work, and Allah knows best. Just a quick reminder that the Quran is quite confident that if anybody hears the Quran amongst the Arabs, then that person would be convinced that it is the Haqq. And the minimum that this would imply is that the Quran has a certain beauty. There's something in the language that causes people to immediately accept the Quran. Obviously, you'll always get the individual that is a mu'anid, a stubborn resistor, somebody that when they hear the message, they realize that it is the truth, yet for ulterior motives and the like, the person would still not embrace Islam. So the Quran makes allowances for that, but you will clearly see the confidence the Quran has that people must just be given the opportunity to hear the Quran and that it would convince them. I just want to quickly give you three verses. And in one of the verses, there's something, there's a miraculous aspect, a scientific miracle. So we'll expose that one as well and add that for barakah, and Allah knows best. So Surah At-Tawbah, this is a verse that we've already done. Allah says in the Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإن أحد من المشركين استجارك. And if any of the polytheists, the mushriks, they seek your protection, to be given the opportunity to study deen, فأجره, then grant such a person a protection حتى يسمع كلام الله, until they have been given the opportunity to now hear the speech of Allah. So the speech of Allah can refer to hadith into the Quran, but the hadith involves the Messenger of Allah in the sense that he has the authority, was given permission to convey the meanings of Allah in his own words. While the Quran is not only the meanings of Allah, it is also the exact words of Allah. So Kalamullah, the default is that it would mean the Quran. So until he hears Kalamullah, the speech of Allah, ثُمَّ أَبْلِغْهُ مَأْمَنَ, and then convey him to his place of safety. So in this, the Quran is indicating that if people hear the Quran, and there are people that are open to the truth and they're honest with themselves, they would immediately embrace Islam. If, however, they still turn away from Islam, and then it would appear that they are stubbornly resisting, and to continue down that line would be to no avail. So this allow them, since you have given them a promise of safety, allow them to go back to their areas of safety or wherever they came from, and Allah knows best. We have a similar statement in Surah Al-Jinn, verses 1 and 2, where the Prophet ﷺ is told to say, قُلْ say أُوحِيَ إِلَيْهَا, it has been revealed to me أَنَّهُ اسْتَمَعَ نَفَرٌ مِنَ الْجِنِّ, that the group of the jinn had listened. Listen to what? They listened to the Quran, as we can make out from the rest of these two verses. فَقَالُوا, and they said, إِنَّا سَمِعْنَا قُرْآنًا عَجَبًا, indeed we have heard an amazing Quran. Indeed we had heard an amazing Quran. And primarily it indicates to the language. They were amazed by the language. And then also the content was also amazing. And it was a content that appealed to their nature. It called them to their sense of rightness that they were born with, their sense of fairness. And this is why they say, Yahdi ila rushdi, it guides to the truth, فَآمَنَّا بِهِ, and so we have believed in it. So from this, we can see that if you open yourself up to the truth and you hear the Quran, you are amazed by it, and it causes you to embrace Islam. There's numerous verses on the topic where Quraysh also barred people from hearing the Quran. They were afraid that if people hear the Quran, they would embrace Islam and thus be lost to them. This is one of the reasons why they called the Prophet ﷺ a magician, because the argument was that he bewitches the minds of the people. And it wasn't like that. Rather, it was that the Quran would take off the veil of ignorance that they were under. It would be the blue pill that is swallowed, and then the truth is exposed to you, and so you can leave the matrix now and enter the real world, and Allah knows best. And obviously, being the robots that they are, they didn't want people to wake up in the real world, and Allah knows best. Either way, one of the interesting verses that speaks about the power of the Quran, and that if somebody hears the Quran and they are not convinced with it, then the problem is with them and the problem is not with the Quran, is in Surah Al-Quran, verse 7, where Allah says, وَإِذَا تُتْلَى عَلَيْهِ آيَاتُنَا, there is the certain kind of a personality that when the verses of the Quran are recited to him, وَلَّا مُسْتَكْبِرًا, he turns away arrogantly. كأن لم يسمعها, as if he did not hear the ayahs. كأن في أذنيه وقرا, it is as if there is in his ears a deafness. Now notice we normally translate this as deafness, this word waqar. You will see it in red over there, and both the Arabic and the English. But if I look the word up in the Hanswehr Dictionary of Modern Written Arabic, for example, which are the dictionaries that your students normally use, you will see that the word waqar, it means cavity or hollow, cavity or hollow. So you will see this at page 189, that which is in red over there. Waqar, singular, plural, wuqur, cavity or hollow. So this here is something very interesting because although one is still able to hear in a vacuum, you are only able to hear what is happening in your own body and what is touching your body. But if somebody is speaking, people don't normally touch you when they speak. They stand at a certain respectful distance. And unfortunately, in a vacuum, there's no medium that sound can propagate through. You must remember that sound, it involves waves and it has to go through a medium. Right, so if I knock on my table, for example, then the table vibrates and that makes the sound. As I'm speaking now, the vibration is going into the molecules that is in the air, you understand, and that is what you are hearing. But in a vacuum, there are no molecules in the air that the vibration can pass through, so one will not be able to hear. Only if somebody puts their mouth against you in a vacuum and then they speak, then the vibration of their lips against your body, that is what you would be able to hear. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to hear. Now, how would the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, know such a thing if he is the author of the Quran? Notice also the careful wording. This is one of the linguistic miracles of the Quran. The careful wording. Allah could have said, كَأَن لَمْ يَسْمَعْ. It is as if he is unable to hear. كَأَنَّ فِي أُذُنَيْهِ وَقْرَى. And it is as if there is in his ears a hollowness. No. You understand? A vacuum. No. Rather, what did Allah say? Allah said, كَأَن لَمْ يَسْمَعْهَا. It is as if he cannot hear it. And that is exactly what the science is telling us in today's time. Science is saying that when you are in a vacuum, it is not that you cannot hear. It is that sound cannot propagate through the vacuum. So you will not be able to hear somebody speaking if they are not standing exactly against you. Right? So this is exactly what you are being told. You are being told that it's not as if the person cannot hear. It is as if the person cannot hear the ayat. It is as if there is a vacuum, a hollow in the ears of the individual. Had I to say that 1,400 years ago, in fact, had I to say this before researching the entire concept of a vacuum, I would have said as if there is a cover over his ears. He's not able to hear it, or he's not able to hear as if there's a cover over his ears. But notice that Allah is saying as if there's a vacuum or hollow in his ears. Notice also Allah is saying, كَأَن لَمْ يَسْمَعَهَا. It is as if he does not hear it. So that is the precision of the Quran that indicates that the being that is speaking is omnipotent, and the kalam, the speech itself, is a speech that has many meanings that can be unpacked. A similar thing comes in the Quran when Allah speaks of, I didn't put this verse now, so I'm just quickly mentioning it as a side mas'ala, where Allah speaks of the house of the spider. And then Allah says that it is awhana anul buyut. It is the weakest of homes. It is the weakest of homes. Now you must remember that a spider's home, as the Quran speaks of, is made of spider webs. The term for a web would be the same term for a rope, which would be khayt. You understand? So if Allah had said it's khuyut, the strings that make up the spider web are the weakest strings out there in nature, then they would have been able, the enemies of Islam would have been able to jump on us and say that actually modern science proves that spider web is one of the strongest materials out there. If we were to make a spider web of equal thickness to the steel cables that we use to keep bridges, we would probably be able to carry the entire weight of planet Earth if it was equal thickness. You understand? But Allah did not say that. Rather, Allah said the entire house. You understand? Meaning, if a human, passes my hand through a spider web, you understand, then I would destroy it. So Allah focuses on that fact. Allah does not focus on the thinness of the web, and had it been the equal thickness of steel, you understand, it would have been probably one of the most, the strongest ropes on earth, and Allah knows best. So there's a certain precision. Allah moves away from saying the weakest rope. Allah says the weakest of homes, and Allah knows best. Now, I'm just going to be looking at 4 principles, inshallah, tonight, to highlight some of the linguistic aspects of the Quran. We do not want to go into too much detail. This is already going to be taking some time. Right? One of the verses that I want to look at tonight is something that I'd actually indicated to before. It's in Surah Baqarah, verse 179. Allah says, وَلَكُمْ فِي الْقِصَاصِ حَيَاةٌ يَا أُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. And there is for you in retaliation life, O possessors of intellect, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that perhaps you might become Allah conscious. Now, what we are speaking about when we speak about retaliation is that the family members of a person that has been murdered, if the murderer is caught and there's a court case and that person has been found guilty, then they have the right to say that they want that person to be put to death as well. You understand? So this is what is meant by retaliation, right? Now, one of the ways a non-Muslim would have been able to respond to us, had this been worded differently, would have been that they would be able to say that we are fighting fire with fire. Now, notice you are hearing the word fire twice in the sentence. We are fighting fire with fire. Now, if I had said it, if I had said it like this, that's another way that you could say it. If I had said it, al-mautu anfa lil-maut. Nothing repels death like death itself. Meaning, if you kill people, then you'll be able to stop other people from killing. Then if somebody were to make the argument that you are fighting fire with fire, to many it would make sense. Fighting fire with fire. Al-mautu, fire. Anfa, repels is best in repelling. Lil-mauti, fire. You understand? So now that would make sense. But notice Allah did not say that. Allah did not say that kill people to stop killing. That is not what Allah said. Allah said in qisas, in retaliation. In retaliation, there is life. Allah did not say in killing or in death, there is life. So Allah is moving away from that. Allah is indicating that there's a difference between retaliation and murder or killing an individual. The entire aim in retaliation is not actually to kill people. The entire aim in retaliation is to keep that scare value, is to keep its ability to cause people to stay away from murder. That is the entire aim in qisas. Not to take life, but rather to scare the murderer, the one that is thinking of committing a murder, to scare that individual and to cause that individual now to turn away from murder. So how many lives are spared? Many lives. 3 people, perhaps even 4. Number one, the individual the murderer wanted to kill, that person's life is saved. The murderer's life is saved because he didn't commit murder, so he won't also be put to death. Then also, had he killed individuals and he was not killed in return, then perhaps the family of the murdered individual would fight the family of the murderer. You understand? And then the family of the murderer would fight back because they're innocent and they're not really involved, and now they feel that they have been wrong. So 4 classes of people can potentially die. But in a country where there is the law of retaliation and it is done in a proper fashion, it is done in public, for example, and not hidden away, where people aren't aware of it, then inshallah the act of murder, it will never happen in the first place. Or if it does happen, it will be a very infrequent thing, not like what has happened in South Africa, that now the death penalty has been lifted. There's murder left, right, and center, and Allah knows best. I do want to remind you that taking the life of a guilty individual is not the same as taking the life of an innocent individual. It is the same like in Islam when we cut the hand of the thief. The Arabs actually have a very interesting saying. They say, "Al yadul amina thamina wa idha khanat hanat." Al yadul amina thamina. The hand that has amanat, that is trustworthy, it is priceless. It has great value. It is priceless. وإذا خانت, but when the hand betrays the owner by stealing, hanat, then the hand loses all value. So life that is innocent life, life that does not hurt other people, that life is priceless. That life has great value. But life that wants to take other life, that life needs to understand that your life can also be taken. This is why our forefathers used to say, you live by the gun, you die by the gun. And Allah knows best. So if it was left to me, I would have said, al-mautu anfa lil-maut, nothing repels death like death itself. And then people could respond to me in the manner that I said. Or perhaps I could have said, fil mauti hayatun, in death there is life. And then somebody would say to me, but how can that make sense? How can there be life in death? Yes, if we're speaking about things that consume dead things, then you can argue in life there's death. Like in the Afrikaans language, we say, een man se dood is 'n ander man se brood. Een man se dood is 'n ander man se brood. Right? But if we're speaking of you, how will you live by dying? How can you live by dying? Yet, as I have indicated to you in the law of qisas, the would-be murderer, his life is also saved. Not just the life of the potential person that he would have murdered. The would-be murderer's life is also saved. You understand? Because the person never even commits the crime in the first place. So the primary aim of qisas, the law of retaliation, is to act as a deterrent. To act as a deterrent, inshallah. And to limit whatever violence has happened so that families don't start fighting one another and it doesn't blow out into total chaos. A good example of this is what is happening in America at this moment in time. A particular African gentleman was manhandled by a policeman and it has led to his death. Now we know that these are things that have been going on for a long time. They've been ill-treating black individuals for a long time. But what is the outcome of this? To show the government that what the government did via that policeman is wrong. We now have black gentlemen running down the street and women and just indiscriminately hurting white people. You understand? So innocent people's lives are being taken. You understand? This is what happens. It just devolves into chaos. And then left, right, and center, life is taken, and Allah knows best. So as how the family of that black man has a right to feel wronged, and they have a right to demand justice. All of these white people who have been hurt and perhaps in certain cases even killed, their family has no right for justice just because they are white. Allahu Akbar. So the better solution is that there should be accountability, and if deemed right and proper, the opportunity of qisas should be given, and Allah knows best. Notice also that Allah says in the ayah that there is for you in qisas life. There is for you. Allah is not saying in qisas there is life. Allah is saying for you. If you practice it, then it will cause that. Notice also Allah is saying, Ya ulil albab, O possessors of intellect. Right? Indicating that you need to think about this. You will think about this and then you will be able to see. And notice also that Allah is saying, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you might attain to Allah consciousness. So our society will become a society where there's less violence if the law of Allah is in place and people fear retaliation. It will become a society that is based upon taqwa, inshallah, and such acts of violence will become infrequent, and Allah knows best, as opposed to the societies that we live in today's time, where the innocent people must fear and the guilty roam the street. To me, it's a bit one of those cases where I don't know, should I laugh or should I cry? We don't want to take the guilty to task. So what have we done? We've turned our areas into prisons. We have burglar bars in our houses. You understand? I live in my own Paulsmoor. It is not a Paulsmoor where I'm keeping myself in. It is a Paulsmoor where I keep others out. And at night, the wolves, the predators among humans, they roam the street. And I have to sit now in my house and cower in fear, you understand, in fear that the wolves will enter my house perhaps. And Allah knows best. So this is not what Allah wants for innocent people. Allah wants the guilty to fear. Allah wants those who are thinking of violence, Allah wants them to fear. And Allah wants the innocent to be in a state of peace and serenity, and Allah knows best. Another issue with regards to language usage in the Quran is that, as I've been speaking, Allah's usage of words have been very precise. Like, for example, there are two terms. Actually, there's a slight error here. I'll be indicating to the error now. There are two terms in the Quran for wife. The one term is zawj, and the other term is imra'atun. Zawj and imra'atun. Now, the term zawj literally means spouse, and it can be used for husband, and it can be used for wife. So, in the cases in the Quran where zawj means wife, that is what I'm speaking of. Right? And then there's other cases where the term for wife is imra'atun. But literally, zawj would mean spouse, and imra'atun would mean woman. Right? So there are cases where imra'a is used to mean wife, but it literally means woman. And there are cases where zawj is used to mean wife, and not zawja, that's an error over there, but zawj. So the ulama of language, our lughawiyun, our linguists, when they discuss this, they say the reason Allah is using the term zawj in certain locations is because of the meanings that is found in the word zawj as used by the Arabs. So when the Arabs call somebody a zawj, a spouse, then they indicate that there's love in that relationship, there's compassion in that relationship, there's tranquility in that relationship, and also it indicates that that person is able to bear children. So that person is able to reproduce children. Because at the end of the day, that is one of the primary aims of marriage. And there is numerous hadith on that, where the Prophet ﷺ tells us that we should get married and we should produce children, so that the Prophet ﷺ could brag about the number of his followers on the day of Qiyamah. There's also the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ says, of all the rights that are entitled to being fulfilled, those rights that come about due to marriage. Right? And the way he said the rights that come about due to being married, he said the agreement one entered into when one rendered private parts lawful. When one rendered private parts lawful, those agreements have the greatest right to be fulfilled. So it is an indication that one of the main purposes of marriage is to engage in the sexual act and to produce children. This is also the reason why when we engage in physical intimacy with our spouses, part and parcel of the dua is that we are saying, "Oh Allah, keep shaitan away from us, jannibna shaitana," and then keep shaitan away from what we are about to provide us with, meaning our children. Jannibi shaitana ma razaqtana. Either way, those four are in there. Right? The love, compassion, and tranquility, they all in the same verse in Surah Rum. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ومن آياته أن خلق لكم من أنفسكم أزواجا لتسكنوا إليها. So there is your tranquility. And notice the word azwaj. Azwaj to the term zawj. Allah has made for you azwaj لتسكنوا, so that you might find tranquility by them. وجعل بينكم مودة ورحمة, and Allah has placed between you love and compassion, right until the end of the verse. So whenever Allah speaks about wife, and the wife engenders all four of these concepts, then the term Allah will use is zawjun, without the ta, zawjun. And whenever these four are missing, then the term Allah will use is imra'ah, right? So just precision, and so that you can take careful note. Like, for example, in Surah Tahrim, verse 10, Allah speaks of the wife of Nabi Nuh and the wife of Nabi Lut. And Allah says, imra'ata Nuhin, imra'ata Lutin, the wife of Noah and the wife of Lot. Notice the term imra is used, woman, and not spouse or partner. كانتا تحت عبدين من عبادنا صالحين فخانتاهما. They were under two righteous slaves of ours, but they betrayed him, meaning they were married to two righteous slaves of ours. They were under their imara, under their leadership, them being the husbands, but they betrayed their husbands in that they did not follow their deen. They did not follow their deen. Notice Allah is not saying zawj, Allah is saying imra'ah. Same thing in the story of Nabi Yusuf, the lady that enticed him, which some people have called Zulaykha. The surah says, Imra'atul Azizi, the wife of the Aziz, turawidu fataha an nafsihi. She sought to seduce a slave boy by shaghafa hubba. The idea of him that impassioned her with love. Notice the term that is being used, Imra'atul Aziz. Allah is not saying the partner and the spouse, the life partner and the spouse of the Aziz. Rather, Allah is saying the Imra'ah. In English, we translate all of it as wife. So you wouldn't notice if you're just reading the English. If you're reading the Arabic, you notice. Notice also with regard to Zakaria alayhi salam, that when Allah mentions him and his wife the first time, Allah uses the term Imra'ah. So he's being told that Allah will grant you a child. So he says, Qala, he said, Rabbi, O my Lord, Anna yakunu li ghulam. How is it that I will have a son? وَقَدْ بَلَغَنِي الْكِبَرُ. When I've reached old age, وَمَرْأَتِي آخِرْ, and my wife is barren. Right? So he says wife, but the term being used is imra'ah. Imra'ah. So at that time she was barren. So the fourth condition, ability to produce children, she did not fulfill that. You understand? So the term that Allah used for her, Allah didn't use the term zawj. Rather, Allah used the term imra'ah. But notice later on, when Allah had restored the ability to produce, now Allah speaks of her again. Now Allah doesn't use the term imra'ah for any longer. Allah now says zawj. So Surah Al-Anbiya verse 90, فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ, we responded to him, meaning his dua. وَوَهَبْنَا لَهُ يَحْيَى, and we gave him Yahya, who's commonly known as John the Baptist. وَأَصْلَحْنَا لَهُ زَوْجَهُ, and we amended, we restored for him his wife, we restored her ability to produce children, his life partner. So now they could produce a child together and cement their relationship even further by the grace of Allah. And Allah knows best. And then if you want to see more cases like that, you'll see it's all over the Quran. When all four of those conditions are fulfilled, Allah would use the term zawj or azwaj. You understand? So we can go to Surah Rum verse 21, Surah Furqan verse 74, Surah Nisa verse 1, Surah Hud verse 40, Surah Shura verse 11, Surah Yasin verse 36, Surah Dariyat verse 49, Surah Najm verse 45, and Surah Naba verse 8, and you will find this. Right, I will just quote one quickly, where Allah tells Nabi Adam, Udkhul anta wa zawjuka al-jannah. Udkhul anta wa zawjuka al-jannah. Enter you and your spouse, enter now into paradise. So Hawa was everything for Nabi Adam, and so now she could rightfully be called his zawj and not his imra'ah, his woman. You understand? And Allah knows this. So there's a difference between the two. This is also perhaps one of the reasons why the term imra has a slight negative connotation to it. So this is also one of the reasons why Muslim commentators have an issue with where in the Bible there's a moment where Jesus addresses his mother, and instead of saying ummi or some other term of respect, the Bible says that he said to his mother, woman. He just called her woman. You understand? And we cannot believe that could have been done by Nabi Isa, because that is not the etiquette of the Anbiya, and Allah knows best. Right, number 3. Again, just some linguistics. You understand? There are cases in the Quran where Allah omits the dua. So if you're sitting with a jumla fi'liya, if you're sitting with a verbal sentence, then normally the sequence is something like this. It first the fi'al, the verb, then is the fa'il, the dua, and then it is the maf'ul, the recipient of the action, or the passive individual. The dua being the active one, and the maf'ul being the passive one. But there are cases in the Quran where the dua is omitted. Now in the Arabic language, you omit the dua for one of 4 reasons. You either omit the dua because the dua is too famous, is too well known, so there's no need to mention him. Or you omit the dua because the dua is unknown. Or you omit the dua because of fear of him. Like the Christians have this thing that you shouldn't mention the devil's name. If you mention his name, then he appears. So for fear of him, we don't mention. And sometimes you fear for him, right? Maybe somebody is your spy, somebody told you something. So if you say who's the one that told you, your informer, and then the informer can get hurt. So those are the four reasons, right? And apparently it doesn't apply to Allah in the cases that we have observed in the Quran. Because even sometimes when the dua is well known, like sometimes the dua is Allah, then Allah still omits the name of the dua, Allah still omits himself in the sentence. And Allah just says that he does, he provides, for example. You understand? And it cannot be said that the dua is unknown to Allah, so that doesn't apply. It also cannot be said that Allah fears a particular dua. It cannot also be said that Allah fears for a particular dua, because if Allah wants somebody to be safe, then there's no one that can harm that individual. So it cannot be said that Allah fears for that individual. But in a sense, apparently none of those things apply. So ulama, when they studied the Quran, they noticed that this is happening for certain reasons, where the intention is to bring out certain meanings. So, for example, if the sentence is majhul, so this is where instead of having a fa'il, we have a na'ibul fa'il, then the focus is on the happening and not the doer. So when it's a passive voice, the focus is on the happening and not the doer. So Allah doesn't want you to worry too much about who's the doer. Allah wants you to worry more about the fact that something will be done, there will be a certain occurrence. So an example of this is Surah Al-Mu'minun, verse 101, where Allah says, فَإِذَا نُفِخَ فِي الصُّورِ, and when there is blown into the horn. So you are not told in this ayah that it is a particular angel and what his name is. No, you are just being told when there is blown into the horn. So you are being told there is a very important, a grave day that will be coming, that every Nabi has been warning his ummah against. Qiyamah is on the way. So when that day comes, فَلَا أَنْسَابَ بَيْنَهُمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ, on that day there will be no relationship between any humans. وَلَا يَتَسَاءَلُونَ, nor will they ask about one another. Why is this? Because everybody will be worried only about their own condition. Nafsi, nafsi. Right? This is a general statement, and so there's always exceptions. And the exception we know is the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who on that day will be saying, Ummati, Ummati. Either way, who's blowing in the horn is not mentioned, and the reason for that is the importance of the occurrence and the importance of the day in this particular case. Sometimes it's a case of a mutawa'ah. And what this means is basically a reflexive or a reflective use of the verb. So in Arabic, I can say kasartul finjana, I broke the cup, fankasara, and so it fell apart. Kasartul finjana, fankasara, I broke the cup, I did something that caused the cup to break, fankasara, and so it fell apart. So that second verb there, fankasara, imkasara, that verb is the element of mutawa'ah, in that the action that I put into it is now happening on it. It's being reflected on it, and so in cases where it is like that, where we have in fa'ala being used, then that shows utter submission to Allah, and to such a degree, it is as if there is no doer, and it is as if it is happening by itself. You understand? But total submission to Allah. Like for example, in Surah Infitar, إِذَا السَّمَاءُ انْفَطَرَتْ, when the sky breaks apart. It is not that the sky will break apart, but rather the sky will be broken. You understand? Allah will break the sky. And when the stars fall, scattering. You understand? It's not that the stars will be falling out of the heavens, but Allah will pull it out of the heavens, and Allah will scatter it. So Allah is leaving out who the doer is, and the aim here is to show infi'al, it is to show that the reflectiveness, it is to show the obedience. The heavens will obey Allah. You understand? Massive space, and what the heavens contain of heavenly bodies, they will all be obedient to Allah. Now in today's time, we have a better sense of the size of these heavenly bodies, and the size of space out there and all the galaxies that it contains. You understand? It's amazing things that we are being told. So Allah goes from the biggest, the Sama, then what is contained by the Sama, Kawakib, stars, Allah comes to earth. One of the biggest things on earth are the oceans. وَإِذَا الْبِحَارُ فُجِّرَتْ, and when the seas are erupted. And now eventually Allah comes to graves, which is the smallest now of the four things, but large in number. وَإِذَا الْقُبُورُ بُعْثِرَتْ, and when the graves are disturbed. Obviously, all of these things, it is being done by somebody, it is being permitted by somebody, that somebody is Allah. But Allah is indicating how these beings will respond. And especially if you focus on the dead. So one moment people are dead, you can call their name, you can call it in the most fearful manner, they will not feel fear. You can sit by somebody's grave and speak to them in the most loving manner, and they will not experience love. You understand? There will be no responsiveness to you up until the day when Allah calls them. When Allah calls them, then they will suddenly rise from the graves, and they will be fully in the obedience of Allah. Then the final place where the dua is omitted is in Isnad Majazi, where it's a figurative attribution. You understand? A verb that, for example, should be used only for a human is attributed to something that isn't human. You understand? Like when you say that the wind howled, you understand? Or what is it now? The wind sung. You understand? So wind does not sing because it is not a human. A human sings. A human howls. A dog howls, not wind. You understand? So somehow it is being personified. Somehow it's being animated. You understand? And Allah knows best. So in that particular case, it is to give the thing to which the attribution is made an efficacy, a usefulness, and an activeness. It is as if it is the doer. So this to create a certain liveliness in attribution. Like for example in Surah Dukhan verse 10 Allah says, فَارْتَقِبْ يَوْمَ تَأْتِي السَّمَاءُ بِدُخَانٍ مُبِينٍ, and then watch for the day when the sky will bring a visible smoke. So the sky is not a human, it cannot bring anything. Humans are things that bring things. You understand? And so it is as if the sky is being personified and the sky is being made into a doer, and Allah knows best. All of these usages to the Arabs are extremely beautiful usages where one moves away from normal usage to another usage that is very beautiful, and it produces certain imageries in the mind. You understand that it's very pleasing, and while at the same time exposing the meaning instantly. So I mentioned before, the angles of balagha are primarily three. When you speak, you must say something that is short, as short as you possibly can. Don't use unnecessary words. Then also it must be clear, right? So you mustn't say it so short that it is unclear, and you mustn't speak so long that it is boring. You understand? And then finally, it must be beautiful. So it must be short, it must be clear, and it must be beautiful. So whatever one can add to a sentence that will enhance the beauty or make it shorter, you understand, without harming the sentence, and what will make it clearer. Instead of using one word, use another word that is synonymous. And there are numerous cases like this discussed by the ulama under the general rubric of balagha. Right, and to end off, I will just make use of Surah Al-Fatiha. There's many things you can learn from Surah Al-Fatiha, but I just want to highlight a certain few cases, and Allah knows best. So after saying A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajeem, we read first verse, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of Allah, meaning I recite, Atlu wa Aqra'u Bismillahi, in the name of Allah, Ar-Rahmani, the one that is infinite in His mercy, Ar-Rahimi, the one that is eternal in His grace. So the scale Rahman, it falls on the scale Fa'lan, and that denotes amount, and since it refers to Allah's infiniteness in amount. Rahim falls on the scale Fa'il, and that denotes time, and since it is in reference to Allah, it means all of time and infiniteness of time. Right? So infinite mercy, eternal grace. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds. Imam Ghazali rahimahullah tells us that worlds here mean any being other than Allah. So all praise is due to Allah, who is the Lord, the owner, creator, sustainer of all things other than Himself. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, we've already explained. Malik Yawmiddin, master of the day of judgment. And in the other qira'ah, Malik Yawmiddin, the king of the day of judgment. And both apply in relation to Allah. Allah is the only being that is both master and king. I'm the master or owner of my car, but I'm not a king. You have the Zulu king, but he's not the owner of my car. Allah is the only one that is the king of everything other than himself and is the owner of everything other than himself. But in the dunya, we are denying it, but on the day of Qiyamah, it will not be denied. On that day, there will be a roaring and thundering voice, Limanil mulk al-yawm, to whom does the dominion belong today? And then no one will be able to say to them, whether your name is Fir'aun, whether your name is Kisra, whether your name is Qarun, no one will be able to say that. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. You alone do we worship, your aid alone do we seek. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم, guide us to the straight path, صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم, the path of those that you are favored, غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين, not the path of those that have found your anger, nor those who have gone astray. So just expose a little bit of the balagha, of the rhetoric that is in the surah. Again, books have been written only on Surah Al-Fatiha and the meanings of Surah Al-Fatiha. So massive discussion. I just want to bring out some brief angles, inshallah. The first one is in Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We're off to a good start in that we are not depending upon ourselves, but we are indicating that we want the barakah of Allah's name and we want to involve Allah in our reading of the Quran. And the reason for that is that if we do not seek protection by Allah by first saying, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, and seeking the aid of Allah by saying Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, then either we will be assaulted by shaitan because we now do not enjoy the protection of Allah, or we will not have adequate potency, ability to do anything if Allah does not provide us with the power and the ability to come on hidayah and to understand his text the way that he had intended. Then the second is Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. One of the benefits of saying this, all praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds. We call this talweenul khitab, meaning they have a stylistic address. In Arabic, the sentence is what is known as jumla khabariya, but in reality, it is a jumla insha'iyya, because you are actually being told, say Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. You are being commanded, say Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. And Allah knows best. Also, there's ikhtisas billami allati lillahi. We are saying praises li is for Allah, and meaning Allah alone. Then also inside the word hamd is all types of praise, because as we said, thana, we have just been praising Allah's perfect qualities. And had we used the term shukr, we would have just thanked Allah for what Allah had done for us. But when we say hamd, then inside of it is both thana and it is inside of it is shukr, and it is all being limited only to Allah. So there's an istighraq, you understand, of all types of praise, and then there's a taqsis of all of that praise and ikhtisas of all of that praise only for Allah. And the reason also Allah means al-ma'bud bihaq, the being that is worthy of worship. The main reason Allah is the only being worthy of worship, because Allah is the only creator of all of creation out there other than himself. Then in إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ, so we have ka. So those pronouns are being used. You alone do we worship, your aid alone do we seek. Then suddenly it's guide us. So it goes from you to us. This is also a style of balagha in the Arabic language, where we change from the pronoun of second person, you, the person to whom I'm speaking, to na, to the people that are speaking first person. And that's also a form of beautifying a sentence. And then we have إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. Normally we would say na'buduka, we worship you, and nasta'inuka, but the ka was brought to the front, so it became iyaka, you. And it gives again that sense of limiting the meaning. In a sense of you alone do we worship, and your aid alone do we seek. So there's a taqdeem and a ta'khir. What normally comes later in a sentence was brought to the front, or normally comes in the beginning of a sentence was brought to the back. And it wasn't done biduni fa'ida, without any benefit. It produces the benefit now of hasr, of limiting the meaning only to Allah. Then in Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim, guide us to the straight path. One of the interesting things about this is that, inshallah, since we are Muslim, we are already guided. So how is it that you ask for a thing, but you already have it? You ask for a thing, but you don't want to receive it. So rather, what you are asking for is you are asking for continuation of that gift. You understand? So when I'm saying, guide me to the straight path, I'm actually meaning, oh Allah, keep me on the straight path. Alhamdulillah, I'm walking the straight path because you have guided me, oh Allah. And oh Allah, keep me on the straight path. And then in غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين, notice there it was اهدنا الصراط المستقيم, guide us to the straight path, صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم, the path of those that you have favored. But then Allah doesn't repeat it. Allah doesn't say صراط غير المغضوب عليهم, not the path of those that have earned your anger, ولا الضالين, nor those that have gone astray. So Allah omits sirat to show this as if these people are on no path. They're just wandering left, right, in center. Then also in those three people, one of beautiful meaning that comes out is that when it comes to ilm and amal, there's only three possibilities. You either have both ilm and amal, you either have both knowledge and practice. So those are the people that Allah has favored. Or you only have knowledge without practice. So then you are the people that are worthy of Allah's anger. You are the maghdub alayhim. Or you have no knowledge, but somehow you are attempting to practice. So then you will be amongst the dhalin, those that have strayed, and Allah knows best. I think we end there, inshallah. In a future lesson, I will come back and do the date issue that I skipped. As I said before, there's numerous angles of the ijaz in the Quran. And so obviously we have to limit ourselves to certain angles. But to the Arab, whatever we have mentioned now, there's great beauty in it if you have appreciation for the Arabic language. And Allah knows best. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
He